pride aside. I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside.
What time is it? EPA time. What time is it? EPA time. The machine can't stop, won't stop. So today, I'm going to talk about the machine. Machine meaning me or meaning you. Where I come up with this topic is that started from, when I was incarcerated. So when I was locked up, my work ethic as far as when I was lifting weights or just my program as far as my movement and so forth, I moved as if it was like a machine. Everything was mechanical. It's like this here, it's a machine and it moves, you know what I'm saying, in the way that you need it to move in order to perform to the way that you want it to perform. So today, that's my topic. So we're just going to elaborate a little bit on what I mean by the machine as far as in the human life. So with me, I do everything as a program, and through life, we're all programmed in a certain way. And what I mean by that is, it's like, for instance, when you do a job every day, or when you go through life every day, everything is somewhat on a routine or a time basis. So you're moving mechanically, without thought. So it's operating, by itself. So what I do is on a daily basis, I make sure that my routine is consistent. And with consistency, it brings a lot of progress, with the process and what I'm doing. Say, for instance, my program starts out like this. Waking up in the morning, making sure that I sip the water. After the water, I get up and go through my rituals as far as get myself ready for work. As I go to work, I go throughout my day as far as I believe like this, you're only good as your work. So I make sure I do my best each and every day as far as when I'm at work. As far as when I'm leaving work, what I do is I actually uh, get home, and when I'm home, I basically sit myself down for a hot second. You know what I'm saying? I do this daily. As I sit myself down for a hot second, I then take my water once again because I'm drinking water all throughout the day because I feel like in order for you to move and operate properly, you basically have to put the necessary fluids, and nutrition in your body in order for it to operate to its full potential. Just like this here. If you don't put gas in it, oil in it, or do the proper maintenance to it in order to keep it tuned and keep it running right, what's going to happen to it? Eventually, everything's going to break down. So with that said, moving right along, after I do what I have to do in order for me to get ready to the next step of my day, I then get my mind prepared, to get and head to the gym. So when we head into the gym, after a long day's work, which is basically 8 hours or sometime even more, I then go to the gym. And my mind state as far as when I go to the gym is basically I treat every day as if it's the last day that the gym is going to be open. So with that, my mind is there to actually work out. So with me, I leave the ego, I leave my pride outside, and I come in there, and my thing is getting that money. And what I mean by getting that money is that money in that gym. And what I actually call it is medicine. It's basically helps my PTSD is what I say. And I'm pretty sure you heard me say that from time to time again. So with me operating as like a machine, it basically keeps that order and keep me organized, throughout my day, throughout my week, and throughout my months. Because if you're living life in a way as far as a lot of things, are unorganized or disorientated to the fact to where you're just freestyling basically throughout your day, you're going to basically crash or you're going to end up somewhere that you don't want to be. So with me, I just try to make sure that I orchestrate my day and make, my day the best that I can possibly make it. That's why I always have another saying as far as make your day what it is, never what it's not. So with me operating that as a machine, like a machine, is basically when a person came to me and they was like, man, that's how they gave me the name. They said, man, you operate like a machine, because it was like thinking as far as on a robotic type aspect. But in actuality, it was just me programming. And then when I lift weights, that sound that you make, it was almost like, like a hydraulic pump, as far as when, a guy lifts the car up and makes that sound. So with me, when I was getting to a point, I would say couldn't, but when I was getting to a point to where I'm struggling, as far as pressing a weight, I kind of went into a different mode to where I actually exceeded, the sticking point or whatever it may be at that particular time in order to get that weight up, because most of the time I'm working out by myself because my drive as far as when I'm lifting weights is kind of a point that's a lot further than a lot of individuals, especially at my age. You know what I'm saying? I'm 51 years of age. I should remind you. So in life, I look at it like this. I try to basically push myself further, you know what I'm saying, and make my days better each and every day. And I always say, like a lot of people say, how do you make your day better? Because I'm like this. Each and every day is that particular day. And what you could never do is get that day that passed, you could never get it back. So with that said is, when the next days come, you're saying to ourselves, you know what I'm saying, or to yourself, uh, let me push, you know what I'm saying, a little bit harder. Let me push a little bit harder because you have to have some type of goal or some type of point that, you know what I'm saying, you want to reach. And with me, unfortunately, I'm never satisfied. You know what I'm saying? What I mean by that is I'm always striving, you know what I'm saying, to do better. You know, so that's where it all comes in. And with this routine that I have as far as pushing myself as a machine, it keeps me in that constant flow, in that rotation. And with that rotation, basically, it keeps you focused. You know what I'm saying? So you don't deviate outside of what you're doing as far as your meal plan, as far as your day to day, as far as your routine. You know, because I remember one time a person had told me, uh, you know, he said to me when I had made a phone call from when I was inside, man, Gant, you're not missing nothing. You know what I told that individual? I said, if I'm not missing nothing, that means you're not doing nothing. You know what I mean? Because for a person to say something like that I'm not missing nothing, there has to be somewhere in his life to where something's not going on. You know what I mean? Because there's so much going on outside in the free world, you know what I'm saying, that we tend to not pay attention to, but it's there. You know what I'm saying? But we, as people, we tend to just you know, treat it as like a neglect. You know what I mean? Because I can remember, for instance, when I had walked outside, and when I walked outside, um, I noticed just a lot of things. You know, and this is when I walked outside my home after, you know, doing 16 years, 15 years, 10 months. And once I walked outside, I just noticed things that I never noticed before. You know what I mean? Just all the sounds that was, you know, taking place. Just the wind, the smell of the air, um, just, you know what I'm saying, the movement of the birds, you know, just, you just so pinpointed on just certain things that you know, you basically, I would say, took for granted. So now, you know what I'm saying, that I'm at this stage in my life, I'm seeing everything as a whole, you know, and there's so many things that, you know what I'm saying, I feel that, you know, say at that young age and at that particular time that I missed. So now that I see all this, I implemented this into my daily movement, you know, as far as making sure that I stay aware of, you know what I'm saying, just my surroundings as a whole, you know, because it's just like, when you look at certain things in life, you know what I'm saying, you tend to pay no attention to it and the reason for it being there. It's like, for instance, when you say to yourself, you can make like the leaf. And what I mean by making like the leaf is on the trees, and we tend to pay no attention because each and every year they basically fall to the ground. With them falling to the ground, you know what I'm saying, we just look at them as falling to the ground. But each and every leaf on that tree plays its part and plays its role. And then each and every year, it's going to, that leaf in that area where it was once before, it's going to reappear. But when you say make like the leaf, you know what I'm saying, in your life, do you want to be as the leaf? Do you want to be just to where a person, as far as not persons, or we could say individuals in your family, uh, you have no significance, or they don't see you as, you know, a figure, you know what I'm saying, within your household or within your family or as within your structure, you know, because as me and you as a male or as a female, I could say you guys are queens and we could say we are kings. And I feel at each level in life, you know, we basically progress. And with us progressing, we're taking ourselves to different levels. And what I mean by that is you are born a king. And the only way that you can be dethroned is if you dethrone yourself or you allow somebody to dethrone you. So with that, you know what I'm saying? You build your empire. You know what I'm saying? Some people think an empire is basically a huge castle. But as we're here on earth, we have to actually create and build the world around us. You know what I mean? And once again, I'm going to tell you, it's not being selfish, but you have to create your own. And what I mean by that is creating your own is moving and navigating to where every move that you make is a reason behind it. You know what I mean? It's like for ignition, I'm using motor terminologies because everything serves a purpose in order for you to move and operate, you know what I'm saying, to your full potential. And I only speak like this because it's almost like metaphorically speaking. And I feel that it'll help an individual kind of understand, you know what I'm saying, at different ages that in life we have to move, you know what I'm saying, in a certain way in order for us, you know what I'm saying, to understand that life is like a process and it constantly turns and turns and turns. And in a lot of situations, it's like a revolving door. And a lot of things we're going to see time and time again. But as you as an individual, you're only going to have one life here. And I feel, you know, you should honestly, you know what I'm saying, treat that life, you know what I'm saying, to where you want to live a full life and a prosperous life. And what I mean by that is not by having all the riches, but just within yourself that you want to be satisfied, you know what I'm saying, just with your life in general. And it's like, I don't need all the money in the world. Uh, uh, I don't need everybody to know me. I just feel that what I do here today is basically trying to give some of my thought process, you know what I'm saying, rather than keeping it within myself. So with me keeping it within myself, it's like it's laying dormant. And some things I may say may hit you. Some things may go in one ear and out the other. But in the same token, it's being said. And as we sit here before these cameras, and you know, I'm gonna be honest, the camera thing is actually new to me. And because when I left this world in 1994, uh, cell phones, cameras, and things of that nature, they wasn't heard of. But when I came home in 2009, uh, I was like, wow, you know, the cell phone, the cameras, and you had a certain way of expressing yourself. And at one time, I was thinking like this: I don't want to put myself on a camera because I was still in that mode of keeping people off balance. You know what I'm saying? Saying that maybe they'll possibly figure me out. But in all actuality, you may be able to look at me physically and say, okay, this is that, this is that. But as far as mentally, you can never get into my head. And if you attempt to get in my head, you will play yourself, you know. And what I mean by that is that's each and every individual. You know what goes on in your head. You know, and if you speak what's in your head, you know what I'm saying, then certain things will be revealed. You know what I'm saying? So what I do here today is I try to just speak what's on my mind. You know, I'm not writing anything down. I'm not for thinking it. I'm kind of just speaking and rambling. So at times, maybe things don't even, you know what I'm saying, sound like, you know what I'm saying, I'm making sense. But when I'm talking, everything will get right back on track. And given my experiences and so forth and so on, that's what helps me basically communicate and talk. And like I say, this is new to me. And as time progresses on, I'm going to get better. But as I get back on the topic, as far as me operating and moving and looking in sort of a retrospect of me being a machine, and what I mean by that is a machine, I can't stop, I won't stop. And that's in life in general. You know what I'm saying? So it's not strictly about the rates. It's not solely about, you know what I'm saying, this motor here or anything like that. All I'm saying is that you had to operate a certain way, you know, and if you have that drive and that motivation, you will take your life, you know what I'm saying, to levels in which you never can imagine. You know what I'm saying, as well as your thought process. So whether you're doing it in the weight room, whether you're doing it in the books, whether you're doing it at a job, whether you're doing it as a parent, you know, or whether you're doing it, you know what I'm saying, to help other individuals, if you operate and you do it sincerely, I feel like that's where, you know what I'm saying, you reap the, you know what I'm saying, you reap the benefits, you know what I'm saying, of the self-satisfaction is real, you know what I'm saying, when you see that, you know what I'm saying, you're actually giving something to people. And, you know, it's not about me, like people say, giving back, you know what I'm saying, and so forth and so on. It's not necessarily me giving back, you know what I'm saying, to a particular culture or anything like that. It's just me speaking my mind and hoping that whether, you know what I'm saying, whether or not it reaches somebody, you know what I'm saying, that's basically up to you. So me sitting here talking to you and just trying to get a better understanding of just, you know what I'm saying, how we operate as people. It's just my experience because a lot of people don't take time to even think about it. And what I did is basically structured my life and I have made necessary catapults, you know what I'm saying, in order to take my life to the next level. And what I mean by that, it's not solely about the materialistic things in my life. It's more so just about the peace of mind. You know what I mean? And when I talk about peace of mind, it's basically uh, getting the things in life, you know what I'm saying, that I see myself having before I even had them. You know what I mean? And I can remember, for instance, I remember, you know, saying, you know, to some individuals, you know what I'm saying, when I was inside, you know, as far as, you know, I'm going to have a son, you know what I mean? And with that coming to light, you know what I'm saying, I was blessed with that. You know what I'm saying? With me getting a decent paying job, I was blessed with that. I can remember me saying, uh, don't let my mom pass away, you know what I'm saying, when I'm inside, you know what I'm saying, uh, this coffin here, you know what I mean? So all these things were there for me, you know what I mean? As far as, you know what I'm saying, once I came home and it all took place and all took shape, you know what I'm saying, and form. And, you know, I'm very appreciative of it, you know what I'm saying? And there's people that supported me within my stay. So with me having certain components in my life, it made me able, you know what I'm saying, to focus, you know what I'm saying, on the things that was, you know, that was needed to be focused on. And what I mean by that is just taking my life, you know what I'm saying, on this journey that I'm taking. You know what I'm saying? And like I say, one thing about my journey, it never stops. You know what I mean? And as I continue, you know what I'm saying, uh, to go through life, you know, there's always new obstacles, you know what I'm saying, that's placed before me. You know what I'm saying? But I always try to be ahead of the curve. You know, and I can remember me stating to a person or persons that, you know, with me, or with each and every individual, you're dealt a certain hand. You know what I mean? You're just dealt a certain hand. And it's not about you just looking at your hand that you're dealt and then just throwing the cards on the table and saying, oh man, I was dealt a bad hand. Nah, make that hand a winning hand. You know what I mean? Because all cards, all things in life, it's not going to be given you in the way that you know what I'm saying, you expect them to be given. You know what I'm saying? You have to create and you have to do in order for things to be the way that you want them to be. I'm pretty sure we all know that. You know what I'm saying? And with us knowing that, it's up to us to take the initiative to get the necessary things done. You know? So when we're in life and we see certain things taking place and we say to ourselves, you know, uh, I can't or I won't or that's not for me or, you know, it's just, you know what I'm saying, you feel that it's out of your scope. You know what I'm saying? We have to step outside the box. You know what I'm saying? And we have to reinvent ourselves, you know what I'm saying, to a point because you'll never know what you can actually do. Because there's things that, I'm going to be honest with you, I never thought I'd be able to do in life. I know I should tell these people about when I first went into the R units. It was with like the receiving units before you go to prison. And I was a person that was always athletic, you know, and I always worked out. But I was lean and I was cut up and things like that, but I didn't have the muscle mass. And, you know, at least I thought I didn't have, at least at that time, I thought I had the muscle mass and I thought I had the muscles. But, you know, once I went inside, I seen that, you know, the body can be taken to another level. And I can remember it was a Spanish guy and he was a short guy, you know, couldn't have been no more than like 5'4", maybe 5'5", give or take. And he had 100 dumbbells. And with these 100 dumbbells, he was hitting like maybe about 4 reps with 100 dumbbells. So me being me, if you looked at me physically, it looked like, you know what I'm saying? I was, you know, basically stronger than him. You know what I mean? From the looks of it, it looked like I appeared that, you know what I'm saying, I can take these 100 dumbbells, you know what I'm saying, and toss them around. Okay, this is what I learned. Iron And the thought of me thinking that I can do so it was good, but it wasn't the truth when it came to touching that iron. So I had basically asked the Spanish guy. Hey, excuse me, Will. Uh, hey, let me try them dumbbells right there. And at this time, to be honest with you, I never touched weights at this time. All calisthenics, pull-ups, chin-ups, uh, push-ups, back arms, so forth and so on. So, I mean, I do Supermans. I was a lightweight. I probably was about 167 at this particular time. So I got these, he went ahead and allowed me to, go ahead and try these dumbbells. So I grabbed them from the floor, sat them up on my legs. And, for me picking them up from the floor, they seemed like they had a little weight, to be honest with you. But as I went back to try to press these 100-pound dumbbells, not 50 on one end and 50 on the other, it was actually 100 on this side, 100 on that side. When I went back, it felt like my shoulders was coming off of my torso. That's how heavy they was. So that's when I realized, like, man, this is crazy. You know what I mean? As far as, what I'm saying, what I'm thinking at that particular time. So within time, I still continued my calisthenics and so forth and so on. So as I got to the joint, and which is the joint which is prison, working out was like a thing to do. So with me, I was structured. I had routine. I moved the way I always, move naturally. Eventually, I met this individual. He was from Long Beach, California. And he was like, man, let's start working out. So me and him started working out, became workout partners. And gradually, I seen 1 minute, I was getting to different levels. Eventually, I started, gaining muscle. Routine was strong. And eventually, I started, make a long story short, I picked them 100-pound dumbbells up again and was hitting them for 20 reps or so. At this time, I'm probably about like 28, give or take. 25 was like my strongest, 25, 26, but 28 was like my strongest point. When I knew that, I had the necessary strength. But the thing is that I operated, in order to reach, this point that at one particular time, I thought I was never going to be able to lift them 100-pound dumbbells or even bench 315. And I can remember I used to see people bench, 315, and I'm talking about repping it. And I was like, man. So it's just the thought process. But when I thought about, my drive and how I moved and how I was motivated as far as putting my mind to anything that I can, anything that I wanted to do, that's when that whole thought process came. So this is what working out does for you, because you can push your body to points, to where you never thought you would be able to push it to. And not just on a working out aspect, I'm talking about in life. So what you do is you place in your mind. If your mind is set on something, you're going to do the necessary, things in order for it to reach, the points in life or the points where you want to be in life. So eventually, I was hitting 100 dumbbells. I was benching 315, which I never thought I'd be able to bench. And I ain't talking about one time. I'm talking about multiple reps, several reps continuously. And, recreating my build, as a whole, So with this build I'm talking about, there wasn't no steroids involved. And as far as we all know, that been incarcerated, a lot of us, it's just the potatoes, it's just the rice, and the slop that you eating, and then you're getting the proper rest. So that's where, a lot of it comes in as far as when we say the machine, the machine goes and goes and goes. And I can remember, the story about, the individual who asked, through the concrete from one side and beat the machine, supposedly, or got close to beating the machine. And it was just, so with my thought process, that's how I operate, operate, as if I'm a machine. And it's getting hot in here, but let me lean up out of this. And I'm not trying to show out for you guys or show you no structure or nothing like that. It's just getting hot. So I'm going to take this off here and talk to you guys a little bit more. I'm not going to keep you long. But yeah, um, yeah. So it's just, you know what I'm saying, operating, you know what I'm saying, and keeping that focus and doing everything that it is in order for you to reach, you know what I'm saying, uh, the heights and the potentials, you know what I'm saying, in your lives, you know what I'm saying, because I look at it like this, everybody, you know what I'm saying, it's not going to be a health fanatic or they're not going to eat a certain way because it's just the way of the world, you know what I mean. People's not going to do the micros. They're not going to measure the food. Everybody's not going to do that in life. So my thing is, I don't measure anything as far when it comes to food. I basically listen to my body. I listen to my body. You know what I'm saying? And that's for each and every individual. Listen to your body. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're putting the, you know what I'm saying, the right foods in your body or the foods that make you operate, you know what I'm saying, to your full potential as well as getting your rest, sometimes you have to recharge, you know what I'm saying, turn the motor off, whatever it may be, in order for you to get, you know what I'm saying, the full potential out of whatever that you're doing. You know, so with me, you know what I'm saying, I can remember there was a time I was only getting like 4 hours average of sleep. And I'm thinking that it's enough, but I'm finding myself sluggish throughout the day at certain points in times. But once I figured out that I need about 6 hours, you know what I'm saying, 7 hours, and I may take a power nap, which I call plugging in and getting that recharge, you know what I'm saying? That's when a lot of things change in my life. And as well as eating, you know what I mean? I never really had a issue, you know what I'm saying, with what I put into my system or anything like that. It was just my drive to go. You know what I mean? Because there was a particular time when I thought that the more that you did something, you know what I'm saying, the better everything's going to get. In some aspects, that's true. But you also need to stop for a minute in order for you to retain whatever it is that you're trying to achieve. And what I mean by that is, you know, some people, they think go, 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 go. But there's so much that you miss when you don't take the time out basically to reflect on a lot of the things, you know what I'm saying, on what you're trying to accomplish in life. So what I do is I always pull myself back for a minute, try to shut my mind down. Because now at my, you know, at my point in life, you know, sometimes my mind, as far as when it comes to my sleep time, my mind continues to roll. You know what I mean? So I don't necessarily sleep sound, but I basically rest my body to a point. And that's why throughout my day, I always try to get that hour in, which I call a power nap, or what I also call recharging or plugging in for a minute. So therefore, you know what I'm saying, if I'm at the house, I let my son know, or, you know what I'm saying, cut my phones off or whatever the case may be, in order for me, you know what I'm saying, to get the necessary rest. Because once I get that power nap, I'm headed to the next phase, you know what I'm saying, or the next thing that I'm doing, you know, throughout my day. And if anybody knows me, they know I stay moving, you know what I mean? Because as I say, it's hard to hit a moving target, you know what I mean? And also, you know what I'm saying, when people, as Tupac said, you know what I'm saying, in your rear view, you know what I'm saying, I'm going to keep moving. And as I say, I always keep wind in my sail, you know what I mean? So therefore, you know what I'm saying, I'm constantly on the move, you know, because I feel like as long as I'm moving, you know what I'm saying, it keeps you away from the riffraff or the dramas that's taking place in life, you know what I'm saying, out here in the world, you know. And as I say to a lot of people, you know what I'm saying, your business is no business because it's no business of mine, you know, and I really believe that, you know what I'm saying. If I focus more so on what the next individual is doing rather than what I'm doing or what I need to do, you know what I'm saying, what happens to everything on what I'm trying to create? And that's where the problem is today. You know, a lot of people, they're so focused on, you know what I'm saying, the politics of the world, or just, you know what I'm saying, things that really don't make them know, never mind. At the end of the day, you know what I mean? Because you got to think about it. If you don't move or navigate and do what you have to do in order to keep your household up or keep everything, you know what I'm saying, your head above water, you know what I'm saying, you know what happens. You know what I'm saying? Everything goes underwater and everything drowns. You know, it's like, for instance, I used to tell a family member, I said, man, you got to understand, if I don't do what I have to do, you know what I'm saying, who's going to take care of mine if I'm no longer there? And that's what we talk about, you know what I'm saying, the stroke issues or just the stress issues, you know what I'm saying, them levels of stress, and that's cutting a lot of us short in life, you know what I mean? And that is just too much, you know what I'm saying, because we're taking on so much, not just our issues or our situations, we're taking on issues of other individuals, you know what I mean? So we're not going to put stress, you know what I'm saying, on something that's not needed, you know what I'm saying, for what? You know what I'm saying? Why should I involve myself in somebody else's issue that basically has nothing to do with me or I have no control over it? You know what I'm saying? So now you got whatever's going on with you, you got this individual's issues going on, and then whatever else you're involving yourself in. You know what I'm saying? When did we become as a people to where we became so nosy? You know what I'm saying? Just what everybody else is doing. You know, it's like, for instance, um, people are so nosy to the point to where I remember when a time when a gun goes off, everybody was hitting the flow, you know, or taking cover. Now when a gun goes off, a person's popping up with their phone, or they're popping up with these two sockets in their face, and they're trying to basically see who's what or what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Instead of taking the necessary cover, you know what I'm saying, for the safety. So these are all the things that basically that I say as far as, you know what I'm saying, moving and making sure you're sound, and making sure you're strong, you know what I'm saying, and, you know what I'm saying, in order to keep you focused, you know what I'm saying? Less stress, you're going to be your best, you know what I mean? And I firmly believe that, you know, and as you see, like I was telling a person before, in some of our conversations, I was saying, you know, I'm a 70s baby, right? And I was saying to an individual, you know, it's crazy that nowadays our generation is only living at a height of maybe 57, and they argued me down. They argued me down, and as time went on, person was passing away. Sometime it was 40s. They was passing away, late 40s, passing away 50, asking how old this individual is. And they said, man, he was 55. You know what I'm saying? And we're seeing more and more of cancer situations. We see more and more of these stroke situations, you know, and seizures and so forth and so on, you know, or just dying from, you know what I'm saying, for whatever illness it may be, you know what I'm saying? So in a lot of situations, you know what I mean, these things are taking place that didn't take place as far as in our parents' times or in their parents' time. Because as you remember, a lot of parents, they're living to 70, 80, you know what I'm saying, 90 years old, you know what I'm saying, especially when you go back down south. I had uncles that lived, you know what I'm saying, or an uncle that lived to like 90s, you know what I'm saying, he still drove, you know what I'm saying, worked and so forth and so on. But nowadays, you know what I'm saying, we as a people, you know, maybe it's in the food, you know what I'm saying, we'll never know, you know what I'm saying, because they're going to keep, you know what I'm saying, throwing things up here, and we're going to look up, but in all actuality, everything's right before us, you know what I'm saying, and as they say, it's just like magic. You know what I mean? And you know how they do it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just, you know what I'm saying, keeping that focus, you know what I mean? And making sure that we're keeping ourselves tuned, you know what I'm saying, keeping ourselves sharp. Because if you don't, you know what I'm saying, we're going to be the one that suffers in the end. And what I always say to people is that, you know, I could be an individual that eat good, get my rest, so forth and so on, and still have some type of situation that takes place with my health, because I, you know, you've seen athletes to where, you know what I'm saying, they're having heart failure, or they're dying for, you know what I'm saying, due to heat exhaustion, whatever the case may be. So with me, I'm going to try to be at my best, you know what I'm saying, not solely for me, but for, you know what I'm saying, my son, or just, you know what I'm saying, my loved ones that's close to me, so that, you know what I'm saying, I can give them my best, you know what I'm saying. As a human being, I'm not perfect. I may strive for perfection, but I'm not perfect. You know what I'm saying? I know some people may think I'm perfect. I'm joking. But no, at the end of the day, it's just, you know what I'm saying, me trying to make sure that I do what has to be done in order to make sure that I'm at my full potential. You know what I mean? And when I say at my full potential, you know what I'm saying, I'm an individual that don't regret. I don't regret what I did in the past. I'm not going to regret what I did in the present. I know some of the things that I can do, they could be done differently, but I worry about that in my present state. You know, when they talk about the future, you know what I'm saying, we don't really have no control over the future, and we can have an idea on how we want our future to be. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, we all know it's not promised to you. It's like I was talking to some of my coworkers today, and we was basically discussing, you know what I'm saying, what I was said always to people. We was discussing about we only live in one life, you know what I mean? And I was just, you know what I'm saying, speaking in terms of that one life as far as here today, you know what I mean? As far as you give me one person that basically left this earth as far as past and came back and said that they was in another place or whatever the case may be. You know, you just, you know what I'm saying? And if he is, I feel that, you know what I'm saying, he's not being honest. You know what I mean? I just, you know what I'm saying? That's my own opinion. But I was talking about you have one life, you know, and as I have this one life, you know what I'm saying? And I'm gonna be honest, there was a particular time, you know what I'm saying, where I didn't care, you know what I'm saying, if I lived or if I died, you know, because I didn't fear death. But, you know what I'm saying, when you have a child, it kind of changes, you know what I'm saying, your whole perspective of life. Or when you mature in your mind, you know what I'm saying, you get a better understanding, you know what I'm saying, as far as life in general. Because you gotta ask yourself, why am I here? You know what I mean? Am I here just to be here? You know what I'm saying? I'm just existing. You know what I'm saying? To the point in time that I get old. And then once I'm old, you know what I'm saying? I think about, you know what I'm saying, basically uh, what I'm here for. I feel like you serve your purpose. You know what I'm saying? And your purpose is whatever purpose you choose for yourself. You know what I'm saying? If your purpose is to be here for your family, if your purpose is to take care of people, if your purpose is to give knowledge to people, you know what I'm saying? If your purpose is to become a millionaire, if your purpose is to be cocky, if your purpose is whatever your purpose is, it's up to you. Ain't nobody can tell you what, you know what I'm saying, your purpose is here on earth. You know what I'm saying? You can say to yourself, this is my purpose, this is what I feel my purpose is. You know what I'm saying, at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? So what you choose is what you choose. And for a person to say different, you know what I'm saying? Who is that person to say different? You know what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, I just say, from me to you, be at your best. You know what I mean? You are the machine. You know what I mean? Operate. You know what I'm saying? Make sure that, you know what I'm saying, you have the switch that cuts on and cuts off. You have the fuel in your body. You have things in order for you to keep moving. You know what I mean? Because I'm pretty sure we all wake up in the morning, and at times, you know, we wake up and we say, man, you know what I'm saying? And you got your, you know what I'm saying, you got your stomach touching your ribs. And you say, man, I didn't eat nothing last night, or whatever the case may be. Or you get the migraines or the headaches because you're not, you know what I'm saying, putting anything in your body, you know, or you're overthinking things because you're not getting enough rest, or you're tired, you know what I'm saying, or you don't have the energy, you know what I'm saying, after certain things are done, you know what I mean? And I say, we as a people these days, you know what I'm saying, we're not active, you know what I'm saying, as I was when we was, you know what I'm saying, growing up. Because I can remember as soon as we got in, you know, from school, oh, we was on the move. Now, a person gets in, the first thing they want to do is they want to fall asleep for 4 or 5 hours. Or they want to sit in a chair, you know what I'm saying, and play video games. Or they want to sit in front of the TV and they want to turn one up or smoke one or whatever the case may be. Now, I could say to each his own, in which I really do believe that, if that's what you choose to do. But you got to think over a period of time, you know what I'm saying, how's that going to help you in the long run? You know what I mean? Because I feel like this, you only got a span in your life, you know what I mean? And I always say to people, I don't want to be that one, you know what I'm saying, that's on my bed, if I get the chance to lay on that bed, to regret, you know, anything in life. You know what I mean? So for the people that's here with me, they're gonna be the people that's here with me. For those I'm cool with, I'm always gonna be cool with them. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna let nothing interfere as far as, you know what I'm saying, with the relationship that I have with people that I know. And for the new people that come into my life, you know what I mean? We're gonna keep it respectable. You know what I mean? I don't feel if a person is I would say, more financially stable than me. You know what I'm saying? I don't have no uh, envy toward that individual. That individual put himself in that position, or he inherited that. However it may be that he came about. You know what I'm saying? I don't do no pocket watching or anything like that, because for me, it's not about, you know what I'm saying, what you can buy or what you have. It's solely about you as an individual. You know what I'm saying? This person could be a millionaire. This person can be a person that's living average, and I'm going to be the individual. If you're as an individual, you have better, I would say, in my opinion, better characteristics, and you come across as more more moral individual. You're the individual. You know what I'm saying? That I'm going to cater to as far as, you know what I'm saying, building some type of relationship with. This person over here that's basically, you know, he's not he can't be trusted. He does everything, you know, as far as to undermine or whatever the case may be. I'm going to keep my distance from that individual. You know what I'm saying? Because I can remember there was a time that I had a partner, and we still cool and everything. And, you know, we grew up together, and I can remember we getting our first cars and vehicles and things like that. And I had some relatives that basically, they have the nice vehicles, the ones on the Daytons, you know what I mean, the loud beats in it, you know what I'm saying, drop top, whatever the case may be. So he had a vehicle. It was that old Hunter vehicle, you know what I'm saying, that old Dodge. And, I mean, you know who you are, who I'm talking about. And I can remember uh, my cousins pulling up. Yeah, they was back to back. You know what I'm saying? They had their cars. You know what I'm saying? Nice music on rims, so forth and so on. So I remember him looking at me, and he says to me, we're young at this time, we're probably about like 16, and he says to me, he say, man, if you want to go with them guys, you can go with them guys. I looked at him, I told him straight up, I'm not no groupie, you know what I mean? Because you my partner, man. This joint got a motor, it's going to get us the same place, it's going to get them. You know what I'm saying? So it's not about, you know what I'm saying, to materialistic things. Now, I could say I have my preference, you know what I mean, as far as I sit here today, but I don't make my sole decision, you know what I'm saying, on what something is from the exterior, or, you know what I'm saying, how you're sitting financially. You know what I'm saying? I can care less because your money is not my money. You know what I mean? I can remember me telling my son and his brother, you know what I'm saying, if this individual gets a scholarship, your friend, you know what I'm saying, in speaking, gets a scholarship, it's not his and your scholarship. If somebody buys him a car, he's not going to share that car with you. So in turn, you have to understand what you get is what you get. You know what I mean? So it's not you being selfish, but you have to, you know what I'm saying, basically get your own in life. You know what I mean? And if an individual seeing you get your own and he's seeing you reach certain, you know what I'm saying, levels in life, you know what I'm saying, whether it be mentally, physically, financially, you know, he should apply that. You know what I mean? I'm not say swing or, you know what I'm saying, be on you or anything like that, but I can see in my circle of individuals, there's individuals that what we do, you know what I'm saying, when we see somebody, you know what I'm saying, achieve something, you know what I'm saying, we let them know, you know what I'm saying, congratulations. And then to some extent, it may be almost a competitive type thing, you know, as far as, you know what I'm saying, taking things up a step, you know what I'm saying, or I can say like this, you know what I'm saying, I have a family member that basically, he does certain things, but it gives me drive and motivation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, for instance, I have multiple people telling me that I need to get in front of this camera. I need to speak. You know what I mean? And they were telling me over and over again. So you got to understand, I got out in 2009. Here it is, 2025. It took me a long period of time to where I said to myself, man, let me get this underway. I could have started this a long time ago and already been, you know what I'm saying, presenting these things, you know what I'm saying, and talking to you guys and just getting, you know, your opinions and allowing you, you know what I'm saying, just to get, you know, to know me and see how my mind thinks. So, you know what I'm saying, that's what I'm doing today, you know what I'm saying, this very day. So I'm going to continue, you know what I'm saying, to give you guys, you know what I'm saying, what I have here. Because all I'm doing is basically just speaking. You know what I mean? I'm not going to talk about, you know what I'm saying, the things that shouldn't be talked about, you know what I mean? But I'm going to talk about the things that should be talked about. So the negativity and so forth, I'm not going to troll or I'm not going to do things like that. It's just not me. You know what I mean? It's not, I would say, the cloth or the era that I came from. You know what I'm saying? It was different for me, you know, and, you know, I don't live that life no more. You know what I'm saying? I'm involved in that life, you know, but I'm still not going to, you know what I'm saying, put myself out there. I'm pretty sure there's going to come a time to where, you know what I'm saying, people's going to do certain things or say certain things or whatever the case may be. But as we all say, everybody has their opinion, you know what I'm saying? And with opinions, you know what I'm saying, you know, we all have them, you know what I'm saying? Somebody's free-spirited, free-spoken, so forth and so on. But as I always say, and as many say, you know, if you got that one finger pointing at you, you got three pointing back at you. You know what I mean? So a lot of times when people's discussing and talking about others, you got to think about yourself. You know, a lot of people's yard is not clean themselves. But as I said before, you know what I'm saying? The machine, you know what I'm saying? Operate, you know what I'm saying? Like it, you know what I'm saying? And put it in that perspective. You know what I'm saying? And understand with each and every machine that operates a certain way and it needs certain components in order for it to operate in the way that you would like it to operate. You know, so as me to you know what I'm saying? I say to myself, the machine can't stop, won't stop. in anything, in any aspect of life, I'm not. You know what I'm saying? Until basically this motor freezes up. You know what I'm saying? I'm no longer here and the lights go out, you know. But I will say this machine is gonna push hard. I'm gonna continue to push hard. And like I say, maybe 5 years from now, you'll see where I'm at. Maybe you won't. Until then, y'all be safe. You know what I'm saying? And keep pushing forward, no matter what. And no matter what they say or what they think. You know what I mean? Do as you do. You know what I mean? Y'all be easy. I'm out.
Ego and pride aside. I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside. You know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride aside. I know you when you don't know you. You know me and I don't know me.
That voice in your head been heard for a long time. Artificially a mystery in your own mind. In the car with you always hit you with the calm trash. Developing the issue with some shit you could've walked past. All that raw math, long ass idling. Tribal shit when your mind's your best survival kit. At war with yourself, arguing with the barber dude. You your own worst enemy, sabotaging you. Voices and choices, don't drink the poison. Poised and wise, defining your own ordinance. Boys to men coming into your own consciousness. Waking up, finding yourself finally on top of shit.
Ego and pride aside. I know you, but I don't know you. You know you, but do you know you? Ego and pride aside. You know me, but you don't know me. I know me, but do I know me? Ego and pride aside. I know you and you don't know you. You know me and I don't know me. Ego and pride aside.